Talladega Superspeedway is known for chaos, but this weekend it delivered something even bigger. Opportunity for rising stars. Welcome to Hot Topic Sound Off on Fan for Racing Radio. And for the first time in a long time, every single race this weekend told the same story. New winners, new moments, new names stepping into the spotlight. It didn't matter if it was the ARCA Menards Series, the NASCAR O'Reilly Series, or the NASCAR Cup Series. Talladega became the place where careers changed in an instant. Of course, it wasn't easy getting there. The big one showed up. Strategies were flipped upside down. Drafting partners became rivals in a split second. And when it came down to the final lap, it wasn't about experience. It was about who survived and who was willing to take that biggest risk. 3 races, 3 first-time winners, 1 super speedway that opened the door and dared someone to walk through it. Let's break it all down. This is Hot Topics Sound Off. Welcome, Jay, to Hot Topic Sound Off. Talladega delivers rising stars this week.
Yeah, right now I feel like I just went through Talladega. If I had a second to just breathe, I'd be all right. But that's how that entire weekend, like you said, went. And I don't know if anybody ever got an official answer, whether that is the first time we have had all 3 series. Was it the first time or just it's been a long time?
I think it was. I mean, I can't remember a time that we had all 3 series. All Sports All Day did give us his breakdown.
All right, what do we got?
7 out of 10, O'Reilly 8 out of 10. So that was his good race. But the Cup Series 4 out of 10.
All right, he's pretty harsh on a Cup again. I'm sure I can imagine why, and I can't say I can argue with it.
He'll explain it when we get to the Cup Series. But I'm really excited that we're going to talk about the ARCA Menards Series here to start up our day. And to get us started, we're going to talk about the breakthrough moment for Andy Jakowiak getting his first win. It's a headline story. Andy J finally breaks through in his 48th start. And he did it dramatically with that last lap 3-wide pass, the kind of move that Talladega is famous for. My only complaint there was a big disappointment with the fans booing Andy Jakowiak. Even Cletus McFarlane came to victory lane to give him congratulations.
You know, and that's what I wasn't sure. I don't know if it was because, again, they are Cletus McFarlane fans, that's what they wanted to see. It wasn't overpowering like you said, but there were some, and yeah, I was confused by it because that is one of those of just to see. You talk about somebody that just shows up week in and week out and is there. I don't know if this year is a full-time schedule. He hasn't ever been in the past. I hope that he does. The finances come together for him. And you could just see it in. I mean, he couldn't even talk. That tells you what it means to a driver and a team like that.
It took his breath away. He's the ultimate underdog story. He delivers pizza to help fund his work as a NASCAR, as an ARCA Menards Series driver. And I understand they might have been disappointed for Cletus McFarlane, but I thought they both had really good races. So that kind of confounded me as well, Jay. I think the win wasn't just a win. It was a career-defining moment. It was an emotional milestone for, like I say, somebody who is an underdog.
Absolutely, and that's where, and I know everybody's entitled to their opinion. I get that, but had he, say, wrecked his way to the front or something like that, I could understand the booing. Just because he beat your favorite driver, and it's not like he said that or made that statement, as some have, But I mean, he races clean. He's always there in contention. I feel like he is one that has lost some the hard way, if you will. Had him taken away and just the wrong place, wrong time, and bad racing luck. So for him to finally get that, I don't understand how you can not cheer for that. Again, was that my pick? No, mine's the one that got door slammed down to the bottom of the track, and I'll talk about that later. But that doesn't mean I wasn't happy for Andy J.
Yeah. Hunter says, welcome, Hunter. We're happy to see you. He
Ooh,
says,
Hunter's back.
what a great weekend. All new race winners. Yes, I loved it that we saw all new race winners. All Sports All Day says fall of 2020. And then wait, never mind. I regress. That was just the lower two.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
there
not
we
sure.
go. Now they're all updated. Yeah, I was a little behind there.
He says, well, I'm just going to put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag. That's
right.
a quote from Cletus McFarland.
Yeah, we'll get to him. I got a couple of things on that whole situation, but again, you just have to celebrate Andy Jakowiak, any underdog. Again, first-time winners. If you're a true race fan and not a particular driver fan, you got to appreciate that. And we got to see it 3 times this weekend. Yes. That's just awesome.
I thought it was absolutely awesome. Okay, I'm going to bring up the series point standings here for the ARCA Menards, or not point standings, but the race results. Angie Jakowiak was our first place driver by 0.111 thousandths of a second. So it was a close one. Garrett Mitchell, or otherwise known as Cletus McFarland, came in second place. Then it was Gus Dean, who has won at Talladega before. I was really pulling for Isabella Robusto. I thought she might be able to pull off a win here, but she had a really good run after some horrific finishes for her. She's finally had a good one. I was glad to see it. And then Gio Ruggiero rounds out your top 5 here. The next 5 drivers are Tyler Reimer in 6th place. I happened to be listening on the radio, and they were interviewing Corey Heim, talking about how she's had to overcome some things in order to be able to race, and he was out there pulling for her. So I thought that was really cool. Number 7 was Sean Corr. Number 8, Ryan Vargas. Good to see him with another top 10 finish. Jack Wood came in 9th. Followed by Daniel Dye, rounding out your top 10. Will Kimmel gave Isabella Robusto a pretty good push there, but I think he pushed her out maybe a little bit too far too soon.
Well, and I think his car was a little loose, kind of some of the problems there, and that's another hot topic, but I don't think his car was as solid in pushing or being pushed, for that matter. So, yeah, I think that's why he didn't have the car to win. But as you read through any one of those 10, I would have absolutely celebrated any one of those getting that win. And there were several that had a shot at it. I know Isabella Robusto, it's tough at this point to be happy with the 3rd place finish. Because like she said, just so close.
Yes.
You feel like you did everything right. It just didn't work out. And I know that's got to be tough. But you're back to where you've been ended last year. Hopefully get all this other nonsense and rough start out of the way and start doing that again like you did last year.
And I stand corrected. All Sports All Day says that was an Andy J quote from 2023. So I stand corrected. Thank you for the correction there, All Sports All Day. Okay, do you want to cover the points here, Jay?
All right, let me see if I got those here. ARCA Menards Series. And this is where I think I had already talked about it. I felt like this year it was going to be kind of wide open. And I think this really does open it up even more so. Jake Bowman has regained the lead by 5 points over Gio Ruggiero. And from what I heard them say, that is a limited start. He's already missed 1 race, but he's not running the full season or projected to. So that puts Ryan Vargas in third, 8 points back. Andy Jakowiak, again, don't know if he's going to be full-time or not. He's at minus 11. Daniel Dye missed a race, minus 23. Jason Kitzmiller, minus 27. Thomas Annunziato, another one that had a car and a shot at winning, minus 29. Robbie Keneally, minus 36. I think he dropped a bunch. Takuma Koga, and then Michael Maples rounding out your top 10. And overall, it's minus 38. Garrett Mitchell right outside at minus 41. Again, I don't believe he is running the full season either.
He's also tied with Jack Wood.
Oh, okay. Yep. Jack Wood. And there too, I don't know. He's already missed one. But like I said, we saw the points lead swap. You look at that, Ryan Vargas and Andy Jakowiak right there in the mix. With Gio Ruggiero, if he starts missing some races, slide him down. Again, I don't know about Daniel Dye's schedule. These other guys going to move up, and they are all capable of winning races. Thomas Nunziato, Jason Kitzmiller, Ryan Vargas, and Jake Bowman, who already has a win. Actually, he doesn't here in the ARCA series. That was the ARCA West. So none of them have wins there except Andy J.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool to see that kind of follow-up that we're getting from all of these teams. So let's talk about. He says Ruggiero is running 6 races this year. Cletus has nothing else confirmed yet. And Annunziata does have a win. He won last year out at Lime Rock. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying a win this year so far. I thought Bowman's win. I thought Bowman's win this year was in the ARCA, but that was the West. You're right, Annunziata. And again, he's had a couple he could have won already this year.
He could have, definitely. So, you know, like you said, a lot of these drivers are perfectly capable of getting a win at any given time. So we'll have to see how it continues to go. I'm just glad to see it as close as it is. I don't think we've seen the ARCA Menards Series this close for a while.
All right. So right now, All Sports All Day has his statistician hat on. We know he's got that spoon in the back pocket. And guess what? I got a pretty big one tonight for a couple of topics. So we'll see who's got the bigger spoon.
Okay. He says Annunziata had no radio the whole race due to doing everything out of gut instinct at Dega. Oh,
is that
that is not a good way to do Talladega.
I knew there was one that said he had nothing and another one that said there was spotty. And I'm glad they didn't catch that or say something during the race, because that would put NASCAR in a position of having to pull you off the track, because that is dangerous. But yeah, you're right. I forgot that. That's a heck of a job without having that spotter or anything giving you those calls. Absolutely amazing. I'm glad it wasn't found out until after the race.
Yeah, he said Jan Koyak was spotty, but Annunziata had nothing.
I knew there was one from each. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Okay. Next up, I want to make sure we get into Cletus McFarland as well. Like I said, I was just disappointed that the fans were booing. Cletus McFarland did come to Victory Lane and congratulate him, which I thought was really cool. I think it was a good day for both of them. He nearly pulled off a massive upset, one of the biggest crossover stories in recent ARCA memory. McFarland finished in second place. He led 19 laps. He came really close to winning within almost a tenth of a second, just outside of a tenth of a second. And you wanted to discuss the good and bad of Cletus McFarland. But
yes, I do.
So let's talk about the big. Well, maybe that's included in your good and bad. A lot of people feel like he comes into this. He brings a lot of new fans to the sport, and there were a lot of Cletus McFarland fans in the stands.
Absolutely. And overall, I think he is good for the sport. I was behind him and didn't feel NASCAR should have denied him racing in the O'Reilly at Talladega, and I think he showed why. A couple of exceptions I have, but not something I felt should have banned him or barred him from driving in the O'Reilly parts. And that's the good. And he showed, he can drive, got himself, again, he had a good finish at in the O'Reilly East, or not O'Reilly East, ARCA East, showed what he can do there. One I'll get to in a minute, maybe a mistake, but didn't come out as bad. I think he is good for the sport. When I say the bad, a couple of things. Where do I want to start? Go with his driving, especially being that he had been denied when he took the lead. It went to his in-car, and he was driving one-handed, fist pumping to his fans, because he's got an in-car cam. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you want to be doing that when NASCAR is saying, hey, we don't know if you should be driving the car. The last lap, and I will preface this, yes, I'm a Gus Dean fan, and that's who got hit. His move from the top to the bottom, slide slammed Gus Dean, who went down. That's what cost him the race. It could have been really ugly, could have created the big one and really messed things up. But that's part of the learning curve. Have we seen top drivers do things as such? Yes. So again, not saying that should keep him from racing. The bad part that I see, and Sharon, I'm going to compare this to something you feel as far as Michael Waltrip and Rutledge Wood. Other antics, I am not against them, but they can get to be too much. He called in during a couple of other people's media shows, and I get it. They're friends. They're having a good time. I'm not trying to take fun out of it by any means, but it can get to be too much. Now, take a breath. I didn't know he had gone over to victory lane. Another thing I didn't particularly like was, I get he's happy about his second place finish, but he grandstanded on top of his car. I felt like was taking away from the race winner. That again he had his own crowd. I get it, but I didn't like the fact that I felt like it was taking away from Andy J getting his first career win.
Okay, now I didn't see any of that, just full disclosure. Like I said, I listened to this one on the radio. Hunter says that it was a great finish for Cletus and ARCA. Not quite sure he is ready to ride in O'Reilly yet, because he spins himself out too much. And I think I have to kind of trust NASCAR's information. They're two entirely different cars that they're driving, between what the ARCA car is and what the O'Reilly Series car is. So, I'm okay with what NASCAR decided. And then All Sports All Day said Gus went up, Fleet went down, maybe a few feet. Jay, you've got a crazy spoon tonight.
I got my fists up, All Sports. We're going to fight. No, again, I thought he drove a great race with that one, except he came from the top lane all the way. He was trying to do the side draft, and I get that. I understand that. Again, maybe it wasn't on him. Maybe it was the spotter. I don't know. But no, that was Gus. That was not on Gus Dean. Does it happen? I'm going to give a shout out to Gus Dean, because he could have held his ground and turned up the track, hooked him across the hood, and probably continued to finish the race, and McFarlane wouldn't. We've seen that. He took it to the below the apron, straightened it out, came back up, and finished where he did. Again, and that has nothing to do with him being more of my favorite driver. Yeah, I don't even know if I'd go 50-50.
I'd put it 50-50.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, so I can't really comment on it. I'm going to say it was one of those racing deals.
Like I said, I'm sure he was going down, because I don't think he had any way of really thinking he was completely clear, but I think he was going down to get the side draft, which we know in this day and age, yeah, you should have had that up already.
Yeah, no kidding.
I get the intent, but there again, that's part of the learning curve, and I get that. He definitely still has. No, I like Cletus. I would have cheered just as hard if he'd have won. Gus is one of my favorites, and I did want to see him win, but I'm not against Cletus winning. No, I knew. I trust me. I knew that was going to come about, being that it was Gus Dean. But yeah, that was, in my opinion, that was a bad move. I don't care who the driver was, who the driver hit was. I think that was a bad move or a miscalculation. And like I said, looking at it, I imagine he was going for the side draft, got a little close.
Let's hear from some of the others of you that are listening. Come to the live chat room and tell us what you think. Are you on the side of Jay, thinking that Gustine was wronged there? Or are you on the other side? It's just one of those racing deals. Let us know your thoughts.
And please do, because I watched and I did not see him do an interview with Gus Dean. I wanted to hear Gus Dean's interview and see what he had to say about it. I did not get, I think coverage went off, but I had not heard his response to it, if he said it was a racing deal or what. But
yeah, I don't think
overall, again, I'm not mad at him. I'm just, again, that was one of those questionable things that leads to why maybe NASCAR didn't allow him in the O'Reilly parts.
Okay, well, and like I said, I do trust NASCAR on that. They said they did interview Gus briefly, and did you hear what he had to say? What did Gus say? All Sports.
Yeah, I hate that I missed that, because I really did want to hear his side of it.
Yeah, and I don't think I heard it on the radio either, because I think I got a phone call at that point.
And Hunter said that he's not sure if he's ready in the O'Reilly. He spins himself out too much. Like I said, I understand why NASCAR did when he did drive the O'Reilly at Kansas or wherever he did. There again, he didn't do himself any favors by spinning out. He didn't wreck anybody else or affect anybody else's race, but it was not a good showing in order to convince him. So yeah, I understand why they didn't. Hopefully this shows him he is capable and should be allowed.
Yes, indeed. But that's the good and the bad of Cletus McFarland, as you say, Jay. I think there is some really good things. He's a YouTube personality. He nearly won at Talladega, which is unbelievable. And that's a huge attention grabber for the sport and shows how unpredictable superspeedway racing can be. And it is definitely very unpredictable.
And again, I am not against him or the YouTube whole deal. I just think he needs to be careful of it not being, how did you put it, Shira, of add to the show but not be the show from that aspect, because I do think it is good. Am I a YouTube follower of his? No, I'm not. But I want to see him in NASCAR. I want to see him in the O'Reilly Auto Parts. I want to see him win. I think it's good for the sport. There are a couple of aspects that I think might get to be too much if you're not careful.
Yeah, if he was grandstanding, taken away from Andy Jakowiak's victory celebration, I don't think that's good. I think he needs to let them celebrate.
On pit road, he was on top of his own car celebrating his second. I'm not saying he shouldn't celebrate his, but don't take away from the race winner.
Yes. All right, moving right along here. It was classic Talladega. Chaos delivers again and lived up to its reputation. It ended in that wild one-lap shootout to the finish. Big packs, drafting, and constant position shuffling defined the event. It kind of reinforces a key truth. No lead is safe at Talladega, and strategy often takes a back seat to timing and survival. We certainly saw that, not just in the ARCA race, but I think all three.
Yeah, and that's Talladega, especially the way it is now. I'll address more on the Cup side when we get to it. But for the O'Reilly, overall, again, I thought they had a relatively clean race. Again, you're going to have Talladega things happen. But overall, I thought they did a good job. A lot of times, that is the one that gets ranked low because it's a wreck fest. With people driving over their head or not making smart moves. I thought everybody did a great job.
Says All Sports All Day says, he stood on his car after Andy J's interview.
I'd have to have it go back and look at my DVR. I thought they went to his celebration before they did Andy J's. I know Andy J was, spending some time sitting in the car, so maybe it was that they were waiting for him to get ready. That might be on me then. I will take that it was just a timing. I think it was before, but All Sports All Day, you've made me rethink this, so thank you. That a lot of times they're waiting until the winner is ready. So if they have time, they do second place. I'll buy that. I'll back up a little bit on that. I'll go to the smaller spoon. I'll go to the tablespoon now.
Okay. As long as it's not during, I don't care, he says.
Now, like Sharon said, if he went to victory lane, and I didn't see that, and there's several drivers, I'll talk about that. Yeah, that's absolutely class. And there again, I like him and I want him in the sport. I'm not trying to kick him out. Don't get me wrong.
I did see highlights of that, of him congratulating him.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Okay, but let's move on to Gio Ruggiero at this point. He dominated the race, but he didn't win. We've seen a lot of that happening this season. He started on the pole. He led a race high 45 laps. But despite dominating, he faded to fifth at the finish line. And we all know he's an aggressive driver. Was he overly aggressive in this one?
Okay, I'll get my bigger spoon back out.
Okay,
again,
the big spoon's coming out. Look out.
I like Gio Ruggiero here in the ARCA Menards Series specifically. I feel like he is trying to prove something. We talked about it of running into somebody else last week or last race. This week, and I can't remember exactly the situation, but I felt like
that Destiny Spurlock.
That was the one from a couple weeks ago, right? Last race. In this one, again, I understand it's Talladega. You make moves. It was one I felt like was maybe an unnecessary, over-aggressive. I really feel like clean air on the fifth is impressive. Right. What was it? Who did he get into, though, that caused the damage to his own car? That was one of those, I hate to say it, but I felt justified or better that he didn't get the win, that with that damage, it took him out of the win because I felt like he created it himself.
Okay.
I didn't feel bad for him. I'll put it that way.
Well, just because we've seen him be overly aggressive before. He said Gio ran a perfect race. That wreck ripped his right front off, and he couldn't be in clean air on the last lap. Fifth is still impressive. He didn't. The wreck happened in front of him.
But there was another spot where he, I believe, again, I can't say caused a wreck, but shuffled somebody up and out of line. It's my opinion of just that over-aggressive. And I can't say it's anything he said, just the way he's driving. We've heard Kyle Larson say he comes down to the O'Reilly auto parts and wants to embarrass them. I feel like Gio's maybe trying to do that in the ARCA and being a little too over-aggressive with it. And that's just my feelings from perspective.
He says Robusto tried to squeeze through a wide middle and she turned her teammate, which caused the huge wreck.
Yeah, that was one of, again, maybe a bad decision. Overall, she ran a good race. I would agree. That was probably on her and maybe not the best decision when she cut to the middle.
Okay. And again, I didn't see it and everything, so I can't really comment. I'm not following Jay. At least this race, Gio really did nothing.
I should. Well, and I should have marked the spot of where it happened. Like I said, it was. I just remember thinking it'll be like, well, he's doing the same thing he did at the last race with Destiny Spurlock. It was not near as bad as that. And I get it. It is Talladega. You got to make moves more at Talladega and Daytona than anywhere else.
And Hunter says what Gio did last weekend, he should have been penalized. The race Gio won. And I agree. I thought that was a little over.
That one was ugly, yeah.
About that. It's like he created the
caution,
caution in order to give himself a chance on the restart. So, yeah, I think that should have been a penalty. And then All Sports All Day says Cleet and Andy J ditched Gio on the last lap because he didn't have a right front. So I didn't see it, so I can't really say, but it seems like there's two different points of view here. I got to put up our controversy sign again. Those of you that are tuning in, if you want to chime in with your point of view, that would be great.
Please do. Please do.
Please do. I will say, I do think Gio has a tendency to be a little bit over aggressive at times. I didn't see it this week, so I can't really comment on it this week. But I think he's on a learning curve when it comes to that. I think he is, as you said, overly anxious to kind of prove himself as a better driver in the ARCA Menards Series because he's raced in the truck series. So he's coming down into the series and wants to show that he's his talent. But I think he's going about it a little too aggressively. And we've said it before, sometimes slower is better, being more thought out in the moves that you make, and instead of trying to rush into things. Now, whether or not that was the case this week, I can't really say.
Here's the ironic thing with what All Sports All Day just said of Cletus and Andy J ditched Gio in the last lap. They both made the right move. Cletus, though, and this is where he went down the track and got into Gus Dean, he should have stayed up, and Andy J was surprised. That's how he got the win, was when Cletus went all the way down and those two got to bumping and banging. He's like, hey, I was tucked in behind him, going to follow him. He went down there. I stayed up top and got by them both. So, as they say, the seas parted. I think that if Cletus had stayed in front of Andy J, I think that would have been the finish.
Yeah, All Sports All Day says they did that in turn one.
Yeah, and then Gio got back to third, and I don't remember, where did we say Gus Dean finished? He was another one. Oh, that's who got third. Okay, like I said, I give him a shout out if he went down on the apron, gathered it up, came back up on the track, and stayed in it. So good on him. I was glad to see him get a reasonable finish after all that.
Yeah, he says the ditching of Gio. I think that's what he meant when he said.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Okay, I got to take a breath. I'll put the spoon away for a little bit again.
Okay. I should take the controversy thing down. Let's go ahead and talk about the next topic here, or next on our outline. It's classic superspeedway. Dominance always doesn't guarantee a victory. And like I say, we've seen that a lot. It was a tight finish in photo finish energy. Talladega continues its legacy of razor-thin finishes. Top two were separated by just over a tenth of a second. This track already holds the closest finish in ARCA history at 0.0029 seconds. And this race added another near photo finish to its reputation. Close finishes seem to be the name of the game at Talladega lately.
Well, and that's by design with the pack racing. You're not going to see Bill Elliott come from 3 laps down by a single car by himself. You're just not going to see that anymore. You got to have the partner. You got to have the push. You got to be in the right lane with the right timing at the end, especially Talladega with where the start-finish line is of when to get that run and make your move.
Yes, indeed. I would say, again, it's I love the close finishes. I do. I don't always like the wrecking, but I love the close finishes. There were some strong runs from some rising names. Several drivers boosted their stock. Gus Dean finished third and stayed in contention despite the fact that he had kind of a rough day. Isabella Robusto and others landed solid top 5 finishes, and these performances could shift the momentum early in the season. I don't know that we saw either one of them make great strides in the point standings, did we, Jay?
Well, Isabella kind of did, but because she's up to 13th now. Let's see, how many points back? 47. Again, you got to have
19th, but he's only got 2 races.
Yeah, again, Gus Dean is going to be in limited starts. The super speedways are his forte. So, again, that's a missed opportunity, unfortunately. for him.
Yeah, I know he wanted to come back and get that victory.
Hunter Blazer's got a great point. When you come out of the pits, you need to pack to ride with. You can't be left alone on a drafting track. And this goes over the other two series more than the ARCA because they don't have live pit stops, but mistakes. Was that in the ARCA?
Well, there were pit road mistakes in the
ARCA.
I don't think, but in some of the other series, I know there were.
In the ARCA series, it was the getting out of line before the start-finish line. All sports, all day. I'm going to have you help me. Somebody got out of line, and then Taylor Reimer followed them. And I feel bad for her because she was following the car in front of them, which was a mistake because the two of them got penalized.
Coming back from 2 laps down is crazy.
Yep. Okay, it was Jack Wooden and Taylor. That's right. That's what you're right. That's why, because they were laps down because they had jumped the start or penalized on the start for going out of line before the start-finish line. Thank you, All Sports All Day.
Jack Wood and they are teammates.
Yeah, that's why I said I felt so bad. Because, again, we know you can't really see a whole lot in these cars. Car in front of you goes this way. Yeah, that.
And they said while serving the penalty. Yeah. I do remember hearing that. Yeah.
Sharon, I put that one up under the overall. I forgot that was specifically from the ARCA Menards Series. The penalty, because it came when they were getting ready to do the, not stage break, but mid-race caution.
Mid-break.
They really didn't have to serve that second penalty. They got the penalty for jumping the start.
Wow.
They went to go through the pass-through, got caught speeding, but the caution was coming out, so they declined to come in and serve that, then just had to start at the tail end on the next restart. Had they had to serve it, they would have been laps down. I feel like they circumvented, and I know it happens a lot. You know, if it happens in the right time, they can get away with it. I think that needs to be addressed, though, because, yeah, they essentially minimized the penalty. It was still a penalty because they did have to start at the back. But Talladega, we've seen it. Starting at the back isn't always necessarily a bad thing.
Right. Speeding again, going down pit road, too funny. And Talladega is kind of notorious for that, aren't they? Speeding on pit road.
Well, and that was one of, honestly, I'd hate to start a conspiracy. I don't try and start them, honestly, believe it or not. If they knew that with the caution coming in a couple of laps, they could and take the other penalty. Whether they knew that and there's any coordination or planning of it, I don't know that by any means. That is just a mere possibility with how it fell.
Oh, okay. And going to what you were talking about, the race reinforced major ARCA themes. Smaller teams and part-time drivers can legitimately contend for wins at super speedways. Jan Kowiak's victory and McFarland's near upset highlight how drafting equalizes equipment gaps. And then you mentioned the penalty, not a penalty. You did say at the end of a stage, but you meant at the mid race point.
Which they had adjusted because they had a caution at like lap 30 something. The original caution was supposed to be at lap 35 or 36. I'm sure All Sports here will have it. And they bumped it to lap 40, so they had adjusted it. But like I said, when they got that penalty, they knew it was coming. With it, like I said, I don't want to start that, but it worked out for them, and the penalty was a lot less than it could or should have been.
Okay. Just to kind of wrap up the series here for the ARCA Menards Series, the final takeaway, Talladega delivered exactly what ARCA thrives on: a first-time winner, a viral near upset story, a late race chaos, and predictability. This race didn't just shake up the results, it reshaped the narrative for the season. So I think we still see the same drivers up at the front, and it is close up at the front. I think it's going to be a fun series to watch this year.
But what I see is these other teams gaining on it. We don't see it at Nitro or Joe Gibbs Racing. Yes, they dominated laps led Gio Ruggiero. I get that. But we're seeing more of these teams become more competitive, getting more confidence and whatnot, getting more experience. I think by the end of the season, I think we're going to see a toe-to-toe slugfest.
I hope so. I mean, I hope it's a close competition. I like that. Okay, let's move on to the NASCAR O'Reilly Series. We've got one first-time winner who set the tone. Then the O'Reilly Series followed it up with another breakthrough moment. The first-time winner breaks through in chaos. The biggest headline coming out of Talladega, Corey Day scoring his first career win in dramatic superspeedway fashion. He led only one lap, proving once again that Talladega is not about dominance, it's about timing. So the question is this the start of a breakout season or just classic Talladega unpredictability? What do you think?
I think in this case, with who it was both. A lot of the national broadcasters fully expected Day to win, didn't necessarily put it at Talladega, other than under the category of anybody can. Was he going to win? Yes. Talladega can happen. Weren't necessarily expecting it. But his breakout season was already in full force. I think here you're seeing the culmination of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people knew that Day was knocking on the door of a victory. He finished second, what was it, at Darlington, a track where it's normally veterans. So I think he proved his mettle then. And then coming to Talladega, we knew there was a good chance there could be a first-time winner. So we'll see now what he does moving forward. Sometimes that first win is the hardest win, and then after they get that, we might see a string. Hunter says cork is out of the bottle for Corey. More wins coming this season, in my opinion. I agree with you. I think this is just the beginning for Corey Day. He has shown that he is a quick study coming into the series. I know he raced part-time last year. He's racing full-time this year, but he is a student of the race, a student of racing, and he really has come out strong. It's not a fluke win just because of the track. He's had multiple top tens. Yes,
agreed.
I agree with you. He's been knocking on the door, and I knew that win was just a matter of time. And I was glad to see him come out in victory lane at a track like Talladega.
And I might have to eat some crow, as they say here, because I said when we go over the rookie report and look at what Zilich did last year, we may see Corey Day go on a run, maybe not as strong as Zilich's, but strong, but also see two of them do it, as Brent Cruz isn't that far behind him.
Yes. I think we've got two drivers that are doing really well. So in this series, and I think as we get into the series, as we get into the season, I think we're going to see those two drivers go toe-to-toe. So I agree with you, Hunter. It's not a fluke there. Let's go ahead and go into the total race results. It was Corey Day winning this one. He earned 55 points. The margin was 0.154 seconds, and he only led that one lap, and that's all he needed to win was the last lap, and he made it count. Corey Day came in first. Then it was Brent Cruz. Those are the two that I think are going to go head-to-head as this season continues. Sheldon Creed had a good run. He got that dash for cash, and we'll talk about that. Sammy Smith in fourth, and Jeremy Clements had a great top 5 finish in this race, which was fantastic. Dean Thompson came home 6th, Jesse Love in 7th. Then it was Brandon Jones, Parker Retzlaff continuing with top 10 finishes, and Austin Green with a top 10 finish at Talladega. JJ Yaley in 11th and Blaine Perkins in 12th. Austin Hill in 13th. It makes you want to just keep going down the list here. There were some great finishes.
There were, and I would not, Hunter used the word fluke. Talladega is one of those, call it opportunity races. We know that things can happen. So you stay out of trouble, stay in position, and capitalize on it, which requires skill in and of itself. So for drivers like Jeremy Clements, Dean Thompson, we do Austin Green, JJ Yilley, we don't necessarily see them at the front all the time. But if they were in position to get these top positions, mean they had to be running good and skill of getting around whatever happened around them and not be in it. So you got to give them credit where credit's due.
And I want to just highlight this. If you look at the best lap of these top 7 that you can see, Jeremy Clements had the best lap at 49.65. Everybody else was over 50, and he was under that 50 mark. So I thought that was a really good feat for Jeremy Clements as well. He started in 15th and finished in 5th.
And he's one, again, of super speedways has showed up as well as road courses, looking back on that. So, again, those are his opportunity races because they fit his wheelhouse.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Do you want to go over the points, Jay?
All right. Again, not that there was a whole lot of movement in position-wise, but the points did kind of shuffle up. Justin Allgaier now lead is cut down to 105 points. Yes, you heard me correctly. It has been trimmed down to 105 points. But the gap from second to third increased. Sheldon Creed, I really thought was going to get that win, but you talk about popping the cork. Look at where he's been this year. Right there, top 5 with him every week. Then you got Jesse Love minus 141. Here it tightens up. Corey Day now at 145 is only 4 behind Love. Brandon Jones, 191. There's a gap. Sammy Smith getting in at minus 192. Another jump here because of a rough week again, unfortunately. Carson Cavapo minus 213 now. Austin Hill, 223 back. Taylor Gray, 242. Parker Retzlaff, you mentioned him, minus 252. William Sawalich, and somebody remind me to ask a question about that later. And then Rajah Caruth. Now, again, Rajah Caruth, when we talk about opportunity, he's got to, and I'm taking nothing away from Jordan Anderson Racing. They're doing an amazing job this year. Rajah's done very good in it, but his opportunity races are in the 88 of Junior Motorsports.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Sieg is on the outside by 14 points. Sam Mayer is now back below the line, minus 303. He's 13 behind Ryan Sieg. He's got to pick it up because then you got the climber. Brent Cruz is up to 15th at 225. He is 43 points out of the chase cut line. That's going to be something definitely to watch because Sharon and I screwed it up of it was projected. I think he was projected up to like 10th or something if he kept running the way he was. So we know he can do it. The mathematics and statistics show it.
Yeah, one thing that kind of stands out to me here, Jay, is if you look at these top 9 drivers, no movement. They kept their positions, those top 9 drivers. You have to go down to 10th. Parker Retzlaff moved up 1. William Sawalich went down 1. Then the next one, it's the same thing. Brent Cruz moved up 1. Brendan Poole moved down 1. The most of the movement was at the bottom. And some of the big ones that we see here, +3 for Austin Green with his finish. Patrick Starpoli went down 3, as did Anthony Alfredo. Then you've got a couple drivers, Blaine Perkins and Jeremy Clements moved up 2. Dean Thompson up 1. Harrison Burton up 1. Kyle Sieg, Ryan Ellis, and Josh Williams went down 1. Joey Gase moved up 1. Mason Maggio went up 5. Nathan Bird down 1. So it's kind of interesting, though, I think that most of these top drivers maintain their position.
All right. If you want to pull up Hunter Blazer's comment there, I want to respond to it.
Oops. Great first race for Cruz at the Super Speedway. Can we say Brent is an all-round good driver and a threat for the championship?
Going to modify it a little bit. I think he's a great driver. And I think we're seeing that start to really, really show. Threat for the championship. This is kind of a tough question. Had it been last year's playoff format, absolutely, because I think he wins a race and gets in. With the points in the chase the way it is, gets in 10th, 9th. That's still going to be a lot to make up in those final. In the O'Reilly Auto Parts, I found this out, it's only a 9-race postseason. That's a lot when you're talking about having to gain on Justin Allgaier, Sheldon Creed, and they're going to be in a points deficit. So is he a threat for the championship? He would have to have that Connor Zilisch top 5 type of string of races, I think, in order to overcome it. I think he's going to have a great year. I do think he's going to get in the chase, but an actual threat, it's going to be extremely hard. But I think he is a great driver.
Yep, I would agree with all of that. All Sports All Day says no way Cruz gets championship after missing 4 races. And even if he makes the chase, which I think he will, he'll be almost 2 full races back of some great drivers. Cruz is my favorite driver too, he says. And he says, Hunter says he needs to average like 10 points at least a week.
And that's gain 10 points. What they're showing is right now his average of points scored is 31 point something. That's what they're projecting on.
Right.
But he's got to then gain on Justin Allgaier. This week Allgaier had a rough day, but you're talking about Allgaier finishing top 3 to top 5 on his bad days. It's tough to gain on him then.
Yeah. All Sports All Day says it doesn't sound too hard until you realize a bad day for Allgaier
exactly
is like 4th with max stage points. Yeah, he's amazing with getting the stage points. All Sports All Day also said pretty good race. Only reason I took 2 points off was because of the train racing for a bit in stage 2.
And that I can understand. I missed that comment. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, again, you're not going to get that 9-10 unless it's absolutely side by side all race. So I agreed with that one. And I think the ARCA one, I might have gone a little higher on the ARCA just because I know they're kind of known as a crash fest, and they weren't. So I might have put that one as an 8 as well.
Yeah, I do think Brent Cruz is good. I really like Brent Cruz. I really think he's a great driver. And I think we're going to see good things from him. But the fact that he did miss those races at the beginning of the season, I think are going to be tough to overcome. Is it impossible? I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's an uphill challenge. I think he'll be in contention for a lot of the races leading up to the chase, and I think he could have a good chase run. But as far as the championship, he's got some big shoes to fill in there, because Justin Allgaier, Sheldon Creed, some of the regulars, I think, are doing so well this season. I don't see it at this point anyway. We'll visit that question, I'm sure, again as we get closer to the chase.
And just to, I know it's on the Cup side, so the O'Reilly would maybe be a little bit different points perspective, but Kevin Harvick and Mambo on their show always talk about, for the Cup Series, out of the 16 drivers, you got to be in the top 6 or 7 and when you start the chase to really have a shot. Because again, one driver having the wheels fall off and drop out, maybe. Having 4 or 5 above you that obviously are there for a reason, you got to gain on them, chunks of points on them every week. That's going to be tough. So yeah, 7th on back. In the O'Reilly, it might be a little bit tighter. Again, they're only starting with 12. But yeah, if he gets in the chase and gets up to maybe 5th or 4th by the end of the year, I'd have to consider that a great season.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, the points battle tightens despite the chaos. Even with a rough finish, Justin Allgaier actually finished in 23rd place this week. He still holds on to that points lead. The question, and we kind of touched on this a little bit already, can anybody pick up momentum long enough to challenge him? Your thoughts on that, Jay, and anybody else who's tuning in?
Well, first off, I got to do what Sharon did. This race I did not get to watch. CW
Jamie
Network and Mike.
Schweitzer's in the house. Hi, Jamie.
All right, Jamie. What's up, Jamie? So, and glad to see you on here. I know you guys were all over on Race Chat Live on Wednesday. That's awesome. Good to see you guys on these shows. I didn't get to watch the race. CW and my network or my cable company have a major disconnect, so I get a lot of static and flashes of race cars, but I did listen to most of it on the radio. With that, somebody else helping mom. That's a good thing. Don't be sorry you're helping your mom.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened with William Swalich? And I'll be open about it. From what I heard on the radio, William Swalich caused a wreck as a lap down car, mixing it up with the leaders. So somebody fill me in.
Oh, okay. I don't recall that, to be honest with you.
They said he was a lap down, but was in line with the lead lap cars and got into somebody. And
I
that's
think
what
there
caused...
was a point where somebody made a comment that they needed to stay in their own line. Who was that?
Like I said, listening to it on the radio, they were blaming William Swalich.
Yeah, they say bad spotting, I would guess, is what Jamie Switzer is saying. I think that's probably it. I think the spotter probably just did not make him aware of what was going on there. So he was trying to run his race. I'm never in favor of a driver just pulling over because another driver's behind him. But if you know that you're slower than the oncoming cars, I have no problem with pulling over or moving up, whatever.
Honestly, at Talladega, it's not like you can exactly pull over because it could be three wide. Yeah, we'll get to that all sports all day. I'll get my spoon back out. Yeah. Like I said, listening to it on the radio, Talladega again, though, just because you're a lap down, a lot of reasons for that. You might still have a fast car. And like I said, they didn't say it was a misjudgment or anything, so that's why I wanted to know.
Okay, Kvapil and Allgaier also got blend. He said liberations, but he meant violations. So yeah, blending in there is a little bit of a challenge. Says, I don't know about Swalich. I didn't see anything with him besides speeding on pit.
That's probably what put him a lap down. That's probably why he was the lap down.
And I agree with Jamie. There were a lot of penalties on pit road in both series.
Here in the Cup Series, that's where I said that was one of my biggest storylines was mistakes on pit road, pit miscues, the speeding. And again, Talladega, I know it happens. The blend rule, we'll get to that in a minute because I know I had that one listed as a separate one.
Oh, you did?
Yep. Know the rules. That was under the know the rules.
Oh, okay. I missed that one, Jay, as far as putting it on the list. So I apologize.
Okay. Well, so when this happened and they penalized them, they said that you got to get up to speed before you can. Basically, you can't come out of the pit and jump up in front of the lead lap pack cars coming around at full speed. And they penalized Kvapil Allgaier. Ross Chastain was in the booth and was saying, "Oh, that's new. I haven't seen that." I was aware that that was a rule. Whether or not they had enforced it yet or applied it was the question. But I'm like, that has been a rule. They've been warned about that. And that is very dangerous. And I hate to see it happen to Allgaier or happen to anybody, but NASCAR had to enforce that to make it known, don't do that. Because we have seen that. You break the draft, you break up that lead pack by cutting up in front of them.
And my guess is that they have addressed it in the drivers' meetings. And they probably, address it, and address it again. And when people are continuing to make the mistakes, then they've got to come to the point that they enforce it.
It's not important until somebody gets a penalty for it.
Exactly. And I think that's what happened. Because NASCAR usually does address those kind of things in the driver meeting, and especially when it's something new. Jamie says, all of them violations look like Boulevard revelers spilled into the pit crews. That's kind of funny because you got to wonder if there wasn't some partying going on. They
Right.
talked about it in the drivers' meeting for first time this week, and apparently they were very vague about it. Okay, and that surprises me, all sports all day, because usually NASCAR gives them plenty of warning.
I want to say Bob Pockris is the one that answered it on X and said that this has been for months, that this has been in place. Again, it's normally only really applicable at Daytona and Talladega, based on the speed. But yes, it was
So
the
they were
first time it
probably
was called.
reminded again this week.
Right.
Yes. Okay. And then until it becomes a habit, I guess it's hard for them to.
And Ross Chastain admitted, he said, "I've done it," because again, that was the stress. Yeah, see, it's not black and white. And that's where my point comes in. All sports all day, for a driver or a crew, or again, the driver I heard say it was Ross Chastain from the booth. Oh, I didn't know. I knew that it was a rule and should be applied. I get the black and white. Again, do you have to be to X amount of speed or whatever is tough, and don't put it. They do it for a reason. It's a strategy, and they know it. It's blocking, but you're talking about a slow car blocking a 190 mile an hour. That's dangerous, and that's what NASCAR's looking at.
Exactly. And if they didn't know it was a rule, then I have to question that. They should know that is a rule, especially if NASCAR's mentioned it. Both Logano and Larson at the 1 year winless mark. Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, how come nobody talks about Logano's 1 year? Everybody's talking about Larson's. Nobody gives Logano any love.
Yeah, it's true. And we'll get into that, Jamie. We're in the O'Reilly Series now.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
We are going to be in the Cup Series here in just a little bit. But that is an excellent point. And speaking of that, because Giggles is a hack. Giggles.
Yeah, I hadn't heard him called that in a while.
We know who Giggles is. Okay. Talladega delivers a classic drafting shootout. This race had 38 lead changes, the most at Talladega in over a decade. Pure pack racing at its finest. Anything can and usually does happen at Talladega. 38 lead changes, the most in over a decade. But Talladega, it's easy to what do I want to say? Have lead changes.
Right. I mean, that's what we expect from a race like Talladega, and I think it delivered.
It did deliver for sure. And I like lead changes. I think it's good when we see a lot of different drivers up there and contending. The Dash for Cash drama continues. Sheldon Creed, good for him. He didn't win the race, but he still walked away with the Dash for Cash bonus for the second straight weekend. He got $100,000. Winning isn't everything. Creed is stacking up money and momentum, and he is indeed doing that.
And he's one I listed as far as talk about consistency, and this shows it again, winning the Dash for the Cash for the second week in a row. I know this race, Allgaier being one of them, was way in the back because Allgaier is the one that likes to collect and cash those checks. But I like what I'm seeing out of Sheldon Creed in that Haas factory team. Sam Mayer was in it until he wasn't.
Yes. And the next week, the Dash for Cash drivers are going to be Corey Day, Brent Cruz, and Sheldon Creed, along with Sammy Smith. So those are going to be your drivers in next week's. And that's going to be the final Dash for Cash round. Ooh,
week. That means Junior Motorsports only has one, because Day is technically a Hendrick driver.
Yeah,
that's unusual. Junior Motorsports only has one shot at it.
Sammy Smith, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's kind of interesting. But winning isn't everything. Creed is stacking up the money and the momentum, and he's doing, I think, quite well this season. And he had a better finish than Justin Allgaier. And I like Justin Allgaier, don't get me wrong. I like Justin Allgaier. I hate to see him have a bad day. But Sheldon Creed is being very consistent. You're right, Jay.
And that goes back up to answer your previous question of can anyone get the momentum long enough? Creed is one that I think is right there with him. He's still got a 105-point gap to make up. It'll be 20, 30 points when the chase comes. But if they can maintain, and assuming Junior Motorsports and Justin Allgaier do, which I don't see why they wouldn't, I think it could be a good battle.
And the other driver that I kind of think could do it, but he's kind of had an up and down season so far, is Jesse Love. If he can find the consistency and get some momentum going, he's another one that I think could challenge Justin Allgaier and Creed for that matter. But he shows speed, but he didn't have the finish this year. He was the pole sitter. He had one of the fastest cars and led laps, but he faded to 7th after that race shuffling that went on. But I think Jesse Love can be a contender with Justin Allgaier as well.
Honestly, with him, what I think you see there is that on these tough days, taking what you can get and not trying to get more than what you can get and costing yourself everything.
Jamie says Sawalich at Texas possibly. Might be a big contender. It's a one.
Hey, I like Jamie. I like Jamie.
And then All Sports All Day says Mayer not helping his I should be a cup driver case from 2 years ago. Yeah, he's another one that I think pushes too hard sometimes. He hasn't learned the backing off and knowing when to make his moments, I think. At least that's the way I see Mayer. He's still on that learning curve of knowing when to make his moves. And All Sports All Day says, I can see it.
Yeah, William Sawalich, the head bob, that's just with Mayer. I'm not even going to respond to that. I'm just going to head bob to everything Sharon said. Agree with that. William Sawalich is another one, just finding consistency. Yes. Again, seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time a lot of times. But that's because he's a little further back than I think he should be and gets tangled up in it. So get out front and don't be messing with it.
All right. I agree with all that was said there. And as we move along the way, the Superspeedway lesson, track position means nothing if you're not in the right lane. And that goes with Jesse Love being in the wrong lane to really be able to contend, and he ends up moving backwards instead.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into, I'll use a very little spoon here, just my issue with pack racing. But I do think we did
I
see
need to
some.
put up my controversy sign?
No. Like I said, I mean, it is what it is. We all know it. But I thought through the ARCA and the O'Reilly, we'll get to the Cup, that there was good, clean racing. Some bold moves, and you pick your spot and you shuffle somebody out. That's part of it.
Yeah. All Sports All Day says RCR's O'Reilly Superspeedway fall off needs to be studied. Yeah, I would have expected more from Austin
Hill, yeah.
Yes. And Jesse Love. And you're right, that needs to be taken a look at. And we're going to talk about RCR a little bit later when we get into the Cup Series and beyond as well, because there's some changes going on there.
Well, and that's on the Cup side. But here on the O'Reilly, again, Jesse Love did have the pole. Again, I didn't get to hear all of it, but what I did was on the radio. I never heard Austin Hill's name and didn't realize it until I looked at the rundown. So, yeah, he pretty much had an off day. Jesse Love, just like Sharon said, kind of got in the wrong spot at the wrong time and couldn't control his own destiny.
Yeah, Austin Hill ended up 13th, just for the record.
Well, so there again, that's an off day for them on a super speedway is 13th.
Yeah. So RCR O'Reilly Super Speedway fall off needs to be studied. Could a 3-car restart have possibly created 3 lanes and prevented that big one in Talladega? I
Is that are you talking about the Cup side or the O'Reilly? Because again, I didn't see the O'Reilly, so y'all tell me.
Are you talking the Cup side or O'Reilly, Jamie? I think there was.
No, that one did have a shuffle up at the end because, like I said, I really
Yeah,
thought
there were
Sheldon Creed was
shuffling,
going
I
to get it.
recall.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was trying to kind of recall. I recall shuffling happening at the end of that race. Okay. Underdog teams stealing the spotlight. I kind of touched on it before. Jeremy Clements quietly finishing in the top 5, a huge result for an independent team. And the key takeaway there, Talladega remains the ultimate equalizer. Small teams can still shine. And I do like that.
absolutely. And that is one of the things I do like about, call it pack racing, the super speedway racing. So yeah, that is always the opportunity race, and you got to love it then when somebody takes advantage of it.
Yes. Okay, he said in both, could a 3-car restart have possibly created 3 lanes and prevented the big one in Talladega? Uh, I don't know. I thought we saw the big one at Talladega. I don't know that NASCAR is going to go to 3 wide restarts. I think that would be opening up Pandora's
No,
box.
yeah, I don't think I see that of that being dictated. You know, and they try to get that third lane. You got to remember is it's all a matter about that push and the momentum of the line, which means you got everybody in line tucked in and pushing in the right spot at the right time in the right way, and then blah blah blah. And normally, when you get that, the middle lane is normally, I say normally, the one that kind of gets bounced around because they'll
Yes.
pick one car and everybody will go high or low, and 1 or 2 cars then are what gets shuffled out. So you can't force the 3 wide aspect to it.
Okay. And Jamie also says Clements was a great story. Yeah.
Always, always.
Always a great story when he has a good run. Okay. Clean race by Talladega standards. Only 4 cautions in a super speedway race is rare, especially at Talladega. And this is a big question because I've heard some conversation on this in a lot of different places. Are drivers racing smarter or just waiting longer to make their moves? So what are your thoughts about that, Jay?
Well, I do think from a certain aspect they are racing smarter, but then I saw some moves such as Cletus McFarland's. There were a couple others where that because the side drafting is so important, and they got to do it. Same with the bump drafting. You have to do it, but if it's not perfect, it causes the problem. So again, that's just part of, and this is going to get into Joey Logano on the Cup side. I don't know that there is a fixed action or whatever, but I do think drivers are getting smarter about it. You just got a couple either too young and don't know any better, or the veterans that get a little too overconfident and aggressive with the side drafting.
Yeah. All Sports says in O'Reilly, their last restart was like 40 to go. Yeah, they kind of went, that was a kind of it wasn't an overtime finish. I think they pretty much raced to the end after that.
All right, I'm trying to keep my Cup Series spoon in the pocket for now. Y'all are getting me all
Okay.
stirred. Y'all are stirring me up, but just wait. Just wait.
I do think that drivers are racing differently than they have been. I think so, especially because of the chase. And I
There you
think
go.
that they don't want to lose those points when they're racing in these races. A bad day could mean the loss of a lot of points, especially for these lower funded teams. They want to take care of their cars and be there at the end to get as many points as they can possibly get. So I think they are racing a lot differently than we've seen them race in the past.
And that goes back to it was Austin Dillon with his move, but that anything to win because that locks me into the playoffs.
Yes.
That mentality is maybe not fully gone because you still want to win the race, but I think it has toned it down for sure.
I do think it has. Okay, youth movement is real. Corey Day, just 20 years old. He adds to the growing trend of young drivers winning early in their careers. Drivers coming into their own, Sheldon Creed, Corey Day, Brent Cruz, we've come to talk about them. The next generation isn't coming, they're already here. And it seems like that cycle when new drivers come in is getting shorter and shorter. So, Jay.
I do. I think you're right. I mean, and Sheldon Creed is one of them. Corey Day, we talked about, of getting that win, and then Brent Cruz right there with them. And, you know, Carson Cavapo, William Sawalich are still relatively young and new to the sport, and they're right there with them, just looking for that consistency. Rajah Caruth, you know, right now, a 10th to 15th place. You know, we're going to see him pick that up. I think we're in good shape for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series.
Okay. Strategy still takes a backseat to survival. Unlike other tracks, Talladega remains one of the few places where pit strategy matters less. Manufacturer alliances matter more. Survival is on a higher level than speed. The key takeaway, you don't win Talladega, you escape it or survive it.
And that puts me back on that of I'm not the biggest fan of super speedway pack racing because all those things do apply. You can have the fastest car, be in the lane 3, middle lane or whatever, 3 cars deep, and you can't control anything. Well, one of the things there, though, you said pit strategy matters less. I don't know about less. It's more vital. A mistake on a super speedway, such as speeding on pit road, you know, that 10th of a second on pit road, because if you don't come out with the rest of the pack, you're in a world of hurt. You got to have somebody with you. So if you're going to screw up, don't screw up alone. Get your buddy to screw up with you.
Hunter says, I thought Rajah was going to win in that Hendrick Motorsports car.
And he was another one. Like I said, there again in the O'Reilly, there were 4 or 5 that any one of them wins. I'd have been thrilled with the storyline of it.
Okay, momentum shift heading forward with Day's win, Creed's bonus streak, and Allgaier still leading. The series leaves Talladega with a new winner, a tightening chase picture, multiple drivers building momentum. So the question is, who carries Talladega momentum into the next race at Texas Motor Speedway next week?
Well, again, I don't think it's a breakout. I think it's the culmination of it. I think it's Corey Day. I mean, we've seen it coming, just like we did with Ty Gibbs on the Cup side. It was already building. This is the culmination. Question is can he stay there? You're get to the top of the hill and king of the mountain. Can you stay there?
That is the challenge, especially for a full season. And we've seen momentum shifts throughout a season. I remember Kevin Harvick in the Cup Series getting 9 wins and then doing nothing during the chase, during the playoff. So that's what we have to watch as this season continues. Hunter says when Austin stalled on pit road, it ruined his day.
Oh, is that what got him back? Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
He ended up in 13th place, which wasn't the day that we expect from Austin Hill.
But there again, you look at where he is in points, and I know he slipped a little bit, but that overcoming and making the best of a bad day, it could have been really bad, so making a good, decent day out of it, if you will.
I think we're going to see Allgaier back on track. I think we're going to see Sheldon Creed. We're going to see Corey Day. We're going to see Jesse Love. I think those drivers are the ones to watch going into Texas Motor Speedway next week.
I couldn't argue with that. And I like to argue, but I can't argue with that.
Okay, well, I just wanted to answer that question. Now, if 2 weren't enough, Sunday delivered the biggest one of them all, Carson Hocevar's breakthrough moment. We're going to move into the Cup Series here now. The big headline here, Carson Hocevar scores his first Cup Series win. At 23 years old, he finally broke through after knocking on the door multiple times. He held off Chris Buescher in a dramatic finish by just over a 10th of a second. It's a massive statement win for Spire Motorsports and instantly shakes up the chase picture. victory celebration that he did was popular with fans. And Steve O'Donnell, surprisingly enough, said he was okay with it. I was thinking that they might ban that from future celebrations. But what did you think about his victory celebration, Jay?
Okay, we're going to start there. I'm with you. I thought it was great. I think it's needed. I really expected it to go the way of the Hail Melon. That was
Yes.
awesome, unbelievable. Don't do it again. I understand right now they're saying they're not going to. They did have some concern about him running the car into the wall.
Yes.
That
shook him up pretty much.
And I would have hated to have seen the win taken away because of failing tech in that case. That was my concern. And again, I don't want to be the fun police, but safety has to come in line. If they just said, yeah, we got to put a halt to that, don't do it. And I don't know if he has any intention of ever doing it again. For his first win, doing it, and apparently his team didn't even know anything about it. Good on you. You know, if they tell you don't do it again, you got to do it once.
He said he'd been thinking about it for a long time, but I thought there were a couple places there where I was kind of concerned for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
All Sports All Day says, I mean, they had the ambulance following him the whole way. Yeah, wow. So there had to be some concerns there of what the heck he was doing. And I don't think a lot of people knew exactly what he was doing for a little bit. Hunter says, I think he was only able to do that amazing stunt because he's so tall and his feet can reach the pedals. He is a tall guy. But yeah, that was pretty amazing. The fans loved it in the stands. He got a lot of cheers and they were really digging it.
Yeah, like I said, for a one-time thing, absolutely. And Hunter's right. And I heard an interview with him where he explained it. He had to take the steering wheel off to get his leg down there. And he said, being he had long legs, he thought he could do it. It was to pop the clutch. But that's why he went to the infield first, was because he said he was still trying to get the steering wheel on. And from there, it looked pretty good, reasonably safe. But like it said then of getting up into the wall, like I said, I think NASCAR was looking at that from the tech side. You know, go back to Jimmy Johnson being told to crack the back end.
Yeah.
You could have everything you just worked for could have been taken away by not passing tech. So I thought it was great. Like I said, I don't know if that's something he would intend to do every time, but it was absolutely amazing to watch. And even he said it. He said he was determined to get it done. He was struggling with it. What he said was getting the clutch to pop so he could start.
Yes. Now, super speedways often produce surprise winners, but this one kind of felt different, Jay. It felt more like a star had arrived. The way he was stands. Did you get that sense?
Yes and no. Did I feel it was coming and going to happen? Yes. Had we seen him top 5, top 6 every week like we did Gibbs? No. He had the flashes of it could be. We hadn't seen consistency. And that goes to him as a driver and his learning curve, his aggressiveness, as well as Spire Motorsports as they are building into a top organization. We've seen some good things from Daniel Suarez and Michael McDowell. I think here in this case, the equalizer of a super speedway played a role this early, I guess, and they showed it. We look at that 100 race mark. Somebody had the statistics. I think his was like race 93. Chase Elliott was in the 90s, Kyle Larson in the high 90s. So he's ahead of some of those.
Yeah. Funny how one of the tallest drivers win after a slew of the shortest winners. Jamie, that's
Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
that is kind of funny, yeah.
Yeah, that did crack me up. Okay, now let's take a look at the full points or full results here. Thank you, Jay. Carson Hocevar was your winner, the number 77 car from Spire Motorsports. He gained 55 points in this race. His win margin 0.114 seconds, and he led 19 laps. That was a trend throughout the weekend. Very close finishes, I think, in all three races. Carson Hocevar was your first guy across the line. Then it was Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman with the top three finish. So I was really happy for Alex Bowman. Chase Elliott finished in fourth. Zane Smith with a top five finish. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in sixth. Then it was Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Noah Gregson in ninth, Kyle Busch with a top 10 finish. And just to go a little bit further here, Todd Gilliland, Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin rounds out the top 15. You don't hear that very often.
Well, again, it's Talladega. We did have the big one. I'll bite my tongue for a little bit longer on that. Some great storylines there. Again, host of our first win, Chris Buescher getting back to victory. Alex Bowman, very solid run. Was he up there all day? No, but he stayed in it. Chase Elliott, we kind of expected. Zane Smith, Stenhouse was one they were kind of looking at, of talking about the experience and knowing how to handle these late race shenanigans, when to push, how to push, and when to make your move. So, yeah, kind of expected him to maybe be the one to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I kind of thought he would.
I'm a little confused here, and I don't know if I missed something. I thought I saw where they penalized Todd Gilliland back to 11. I don't know where he actually finished, but I heard something that he actually shouldn't have gotten a lap back early in the race, so they penalized him in the final results. Anybody know anything on that?
He shows 11th on the list here.
But I know he was in the top 3 to 5. Again, inside, outside lane, he could have been 6th, I guess, if he was 3rd. I don't know where he actually finished, but I heard something on that. And I don't know, because I was like, well, he's not at the tail end of the lead lap because he's in the middle of cars that showed 188 laps. So I didn't understand that, and I didn't see any clarification on it.
Am I sharing the right tab here? Okay, never mind. Jamie Schweitzer says Logano better hope for a good Texas finish. And can anybody help out Jay there?
Logano needs to put a lot of hope on different things.
Well, I will say Logano had a bad race at Las Vegas where I expected him to be good. Right. Then he had a good race at, what was the other 1.5 mile track?
Kansas. Darlington was an embarrassment.
Yeah, Darlington was an embarrassment. But he did okay at Kansas. So I'm kind of curious to see what he does at Texas. I'm with you there. He's been not having a good year.
All right. All Sports All Day said he didn't hear anything. Maybe that was one of those parody Twitter accounts and I shouldn't have paid any attention to it.
It could be because I don't recall that.
That's what I said, and I couldn't find any follow-up on it.
Jay, do you want to go over the points report here?
All right. So again, not necessarily any big movers in the points position, but Tyler Reddick is now only 110 points ahead of Denny Hamlin. Then you got Ryan Blaney at 140, Chase Elliott 144. Ty Gibbs is fifth at a minus 162. Kyle Larson 169. You can hear these are really tight within that group. Chris Buescher, Carson Hocevar now up to eighth. I lost my spot. Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, again plummeting. Ryan Preece, Daniel Suarez, Joey Logano, mentioned him. He's back to almost out of the chase position or playoff position, chase position. I said it right the first time. Then you got Austin Cindric is the line at 226. Joey Logano is 8 above him, and Daniel Suarez is only 1 more above that. And then behind him, Chase Briscoe had gotten in. He's now back out at 222. He's 4 points out. Ross Chastain a little bit more at 21 out. And then Shane Van Gisbergen, we've talked about that. He's kind of been free-falling. And Sharon's got the one with the green up and down arrow, so I'll let her tag those as far as the actual big movers in positions.
Okay. Jamie does say, I heard of that infraction, something like NASCAR gave him a penalty he didn't deserve. Not sure. And
From
then,
what I, okay, go ahead.
Hunter says, Jamie's right. They called it infraction penalty, something that's rare to see. I don't recall that at all.
From what I read was they gave him a lap, let him get the free pass when they shouldn't have, and they had denied Denny Hamlin on the one, but they had allowed Gillen, so they were trying to compensate for that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, let me go through the who's moved up and down here.
All right.
The biggest, let's see, at the top, that we did have movement in this series compared to what we saw in the O'Reilly series. Denny Hamlin moved up one, Ryan Blaney back one, but I thought that happened last week. I didn't think Denny Hamlin moved. Standings. 10 races.
Yeah, because they were really close in points.
Let me make sure I got the right standings here. Yeah, okay, here's the right standings. That was last week that we were looking at. Okay, Tyler Reddick and Denny Hamlin stayed the same, as did Ryan Blaney. Chase Elliott moved up 2. Ty Gibbs and Kyle Larson both moved back 1. Chris Buescher moved up 4. Carson Hocevar moved up 4 spots. Christopher Bell moved up 1 spot. Now we get the reverse side of that. Brad Keselowski moved back 1. William Byron moved back 4. Bubba Wallace also lost 4 spots. Daniel Suarez moved up 2. Joey Logano back 1. Austin Cindric up 1. Chase Briscoe back 2. Then it was Ross Chastain up 2. Shane Van Gisbergen back 1. Zane Smith moved up 2. Todd Gilliland moved up 1. Michael McDowell on the other side went back 4. Austin Dillon up 1. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gained 5 spots. That's the biggest mover up that I've seen. Eric Jones back 2. Josh Berry back 2. Riley Earps back 1. Noah Gragson up 1. And John Hunter Nemechek down 2. So a lot of movement here in the Cup Series as opposed to what we saw in the Xfinity Series. Hunter says Denny was crying about that and Bell not putting for fuel that put him 2 laps down, I think. Yes, I remember that. He wanted Bell to go in to help him, or to get that spot to help him not lose ground. And I thought that was wrong. To me, that's race manipulation.
Exactly, Sharon. You got it. I was like, I think Bell did the right thing, because had he gone in, I think NASCAR could have flagged it and penalized both teams, or Joe Gibbs Racing, for the
especially with Denny saying something over the radio.
Yep. So I was glad to see it didn't happen. Not against Denny, just I didn't want to have NASCAR go through that whole thing again.
Yeah. All Sports says it kept him at 2 laps because there was no wave around. And that was fine with me. I think you're right, Jay. I think he did the right thing, Christopher Bell. And Denny didn't do himself any favors by saying that on the radio either.
Not to that effect, and because like I said, at that point, it really would have been of collaboration. And yeah, that can get you in trouble.
Okay, let's talk about the points implications in Chase picture. Despite the chaos, the standings remain tight at the top. Tyler Reddick still leads the points after a relatively steady day. By the way, he just signed a multi-year contract extension that he announced on the pre-race show. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott remain in the hunt. Hocevar's win puts him into Chase contention and adds a new wrinkle to the post-season grid. The key takeaway, speedways don't just create chaos, they can reshape the chase. So we'll see I don't think it made that big of a difference, but Hosvar did make a big move in the standings.
Here's the thing: we talk about it as a single race opportunity to win, but even with the point shuffle, good day, bad day, you got to maintain that the momentum and the consistency, because that's what the chase system is all about.
Yeah. Jamie's asking the question, do you think Denny will run a few cup races for 2311 after he retires from JGR?
You know, I keep hearing this, but again, with what they're building, because there's rumors of another team, Corey Haim's looking for a ride. Even if they get a fourth charter, that still means then somebody, Riley Herbst, would have to be out. So I don't know if there's room for him. I mean, that sounds ironic being it's his team, but if you're building the organization, I don't know if there's room for him there.
That's my thinking. We've already got young drivers that are wanting to move into the series, and there's no room for them to go. So Denny taking a seat after he retires on a one-off, maybe, but I just don't see it because there's so many young drivers that are in the wings waiting for a ride.
Well, it's not a part-time charter, though.
Charters.
You can run as an open team, because that's what Corey Haim is doing right now, is running as an open team.
Okay. And I don't think there is a part-time charter, is there?
No, there's not actually. They can have 4 charters. Right now they have 3. And like I said, I don't know exact details, but a lot of things in possibility of them getting a 4th charter. Oh, you're right. Jamie's right. You can't have 4 anymore.
You can't have 4 charters. He's absolutely
good call, Jamie. Good call.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
They have 3. They would just run as an open car. Exactly right. The most they can have is 3. Yep.
Think about it. That's what Legacy was doing with Jimmy Johnson. But once they got to where they want to actually run 3 full-time drivers, Jimmy had to step aside.
Yep. Yep. Exactly right. Okay, so Tyler Reddick, I think that's no surprise that he signed a multi-year contract extension. I think most of us expected that.
It was going to happen. I think it was going to happen even if he had a mediocre season. With the season he started, they probably wanted to sign him now before they had to pay him even more money after a championship dominating season.
Yeah, you're right, Hunter. They grandfathered in JGR and Hendrick, which isn't fair. But they did grandfather them in at the very beginning. They could keep their 4 cars. They didn't have to go back. But they're the only teams that can have the 4 cars.
Oh, I don't know about it being unfair.
So he could run open cars a few times each year if he wanted to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'd have to run it as an open car. Yeah.
Or take one of the full-time charters, but then you're going to put your other driver at risk.
That's true too. Okay.
I don't know about that being unfair. Who was it that said it? Hunter. I mean, I think back to when Roush had 5 and they made the rule, they too got grandfathered. I don't know that you want to be pushing teams out, so I think grandfathering them in, I think was kind of the right car. Dude, if we could get
he says, I thought the open cars have to race in to race. That's true. Like they're going to have to this weekend before qualifying was canceled. Yeah, that is true. They do have to race their way in during qualifying. There should be 1 Ford team with 4 charters too, just to be fair. I kind of see the point there.
There was Stuart Haas Racing.
Yeah, you're right. They only have to race their way in if there's more than 40 entries. If there's 40 entries and some of those are open cars, 4 of those are open cars, all 4 of the open cars are in.
Going back to the Ford thing, there was a Ford team. It was Stewart Haas Racing that had 4 charters.
That's true.
They were also, but they shut down. And that's where I said, I don't know that we want to push teams or organizations out.
That is true. Penske basically does have 4, though, with Wood Brothers is basically a Penske affiliate. Yeah. I don't know what he means by ATP.
But
yeah.
so is then 2311 under Joe Gibbs, Spire Motorsports under Hendrick Motorsports.
Yeah,
you always have
yeah.
what they call the alliances. Penske is probably the most directly connected, I would say, with the Wood Brothers. Although 2311 and Joe Gibbs Racing are pretty tight.
Yes. All right. I want to let's see. Wood Brothers is in the same shop, I think, and that was All Sports All Day. And Hunter says it's a prototype of Penske's Wood Brother.
Right, and that's where I say I think Penske's is that from that aspect. But on the other side, 2311 doesn't do any engine or body work. They were talking about that of what their 2311 race shop is. None of that is their own engines and bodies or anything. All that they get directly from Joe Gibbs Racing and then modify it setup wise to their team.
Okay. All right. Moving on to the big one. The big one strikes again, and it was massive. Talladega Chaos delivered in a big way with a 26-car pileup. It wasn't the biggest. I think they said the biggest was 28 cars.
Yep.
But it was triggered when Bubba Wallace was turned after contact in the lead pack. No fault for Wallace, Chastain, or Logano. Blame is blinded by dislike sometimes, and I would agree with that. We'll talk about that. It did collect more than half the field, including major contenders. It brought out a red flag and completely reshaped the race. And then before we go leave this subject, we have to talk about the fuel saving versus the wreckfest. Stage flipping did or did not work from your point of view? That's the question. This wasn't just the big one. It was one of the largest crashes in recent NASCAR history. I was astounded at how big that wreck was. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, because it happened at the front. That's the risk you run when you have something like that happen up front. And with that, I know it's not a spoon, but it's the biggest bottle I had handy here, so we're going to get it out. A couple of those statements Sharon read were mine from the notes. First off, the fault. Everybody wants to point the finger at Bubba Wallace. He got turned from being bumped from behind. Okay, now it's Chastain's fault. Well, Joey Logano was on Chastain's bumper. Well, but watch it back. That momentum came from, and I don't know who it was behind Logano.
It was an accordion effect.
Exactly. And that's why I hate to see one driver get the blame, whether it be some pointed at Wallace, some pointed at Chastain, some pointed at Logano. I will say this, you got to be careful about throwing the block or getting in front of the momentum.
Yes.
Okay. So if you watch it back, Joey Logano and that line, whoever was behind him, line was coming. Chastain moved up, and that was okay. Wallace then jumped up in front of Chastain. They were both kind of loose. When Logano and the train got to Chastain, they pushed him. He hit Wallace, who was still getting in line in front of the momentum and couldn't handle it. Who's at fault? I don't feel you can. That, to me, is Talladega Racing fault. Joey Logano has some opinions on that. Still waiting to get further clarification on that. He kind of bit his tongue and said, I'm going to leave it at that, and walked away. But, yeah, that's one of those, that style. I think it goes back to Mark Martin. That style of racing is going to create this. You can't then blame, not that there haven't been individual drivers, but
it kind of reminds me of Tony Stewart.
He was another one that didn't particularly like it.
he complained about the blockers, and then he blocked and wrecked over half the field. Just to catch up with the comments here, Jamie Schweitzer says, yes, all Wood Brothers work is one Penske way, been there a dozen times. He also says, I blame Bubba, and I don't dislike him. In my opinion, he wouldn't give an inch and got greedy. Hunter says, with the bumper of these cars being so round and the new body style of Chevy, I don't think they can drive aggressive without wrecking. And then he went on to say, not sure if the new body style of Chevy pushing and bumping Bubba is any different than a Ford pushing Bubba. So
all of what everybody said is correct. Bubba Wallace did get greedy, but so did Ross Chastain by getting in front. That's what you got to do, because if not, you're going to go from first or second back to 30th in a heartbeat. You got to. And Sharon mentioned Tony Stewart. He didn't like the blocking, but he did it because that's what you got to do. You know, he's like, I got to play the game. These are the rules I've been given. I got to play the game. They both, like I said, Chastain and Bubba Wallace, when they jump in front of that line of momentum, you're taking a risk. I mean, that's what it is. And that's what
All Sports All Day just says Toyota's had trouble pushing all day.
No, taking pushes.
Taking pushes all day. Thank you.
Joey Logano is the one that really pointed out the round bumpers, compared it to two basketballs pushing on each other. That, you know, that's part of what it is with the bumpers. Do they need to go back to the flat bumpers? You know, but then you lose the brand identity. So many layers to it. Drivers could just not push each other too. Right.
Hunter says, maybe you're right, All Sports. Eric Jones got tapped and couldn't hang on at the end. Yeah, the Toyotas did have challenges with that. And Jamie says all true about the bumpers.
And there's so many variables, you know, they talk about of just being centered or just offset. Again, if the car in front of you is a little loose and you bump them, they're going to lose it. You know, where some cars, if they're a tight car, you can slam them as hard as you want. There's so many variables, but that's what this style of racing brings. I mean, you know, they got rules in place. I think it's still in the O'Reilly, maybe in the trucks, of you can't have contact for like more than 2 seconds or whatever.
Time of contact.
Right. Of how long you can push. You know, you can't in certain parts of the tri-oval or the corners that you got to release before the corner, because again, they're so unstable. And that's where Joey was going.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's super speedway racing as it is today. There was a time when they wouldn't do that because they knew it was just asking for trouble. So it brought out the red flag. It elected, like you said, a lot of major contenders. I was surprised at how many people actually were able to go back out. Some of them were not able to go back out, like Ryan Blaney and some others. I can't think of some of the others now, but there were several that couldn't go back out. They were done for the day. But I was surprised at how many people actually, like Tyler Reddick, that he was still able to go back out there.
And come back and get a semi-decent finish.
Yes.
Now, here's the other thing, though. If you saw the wreck, Ty Gibbs getting to pit road, that car couldn't even drive straight. They send him back out, tire blows out, he hits the wall hard, causes another wreck. I like the fact that
I wish that he hadn't gone back out.
Oh, isn't that who I said?
Oh, I think, yeah.
I might have said the wrong name, but yeah, it is Ty Gibbs I was talking about. I agree. And that's one where I like the clock. I don't want to see a car all mangled, you know, after 30 laps in the garage, come back out and be losing parts. This might have been a drawback to the rule. They went out a little bit too quick and really didn't have it fixed and, you know, caused a problem.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say this. All Sports All Day, both, you can't lock bumpers, but they
Okay.
haven't enforced that in years. It's such a stupid rule. It makes you more stable when you lock, but only for a certain amount of time, because when you lock, you also block the airflow and your engine's going to blow up. Your heater or
Radiator, yeah.
radiator is going to boil over and cause a problem.
The-
So that's why they unlock every so often, to get the air back in there so that the radiator doesn't blow.
There's several things there with that, Sharon, because I think one of the biggest things was the driver in front was saying, I'm no longer steering my car, the guy on my bumper is.
That's true. That's true. Jamie says, will we see another first-time winner this Sunday? And he also says a bumper year for the first-time winners in all of NASCAR series. Yes, I love that we saw first-time winners across the board this weekend.
Yeah, across NASCAR series, yes. And the Cup series, who do we see that could be the first time winner? We're running out of options here. Zane Smith got a good run. Todd Gillen, again, back and forth. I'll throw a vote out there for Noah Gragson, but the year they're having, I don't know that I see that yet, other than something outrageous happening. At the Cup level, I don't know that we see that many more, other than Connor Zilic, but again, he'd have to completely turn his season around. Actually, Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst has had some good runs as of late.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Again, that consistency.
But that wouldn't be a first-time win for him. He won at Las Vegas.
Not in the Cup series. That was in the O'Reilly. Was that in the Cup?
Let me.
Well, I thought that was in. No, I don't think so. I think that was in the O'Reilly.
I remember him being in the media center and saying, okay, you guys, you've been talking about me for a long time. Now that I've won, now what are you going to talk about? I'm thinking that was in the Cup series, but I could be wrong.
All right. How do I do the NWO thing? We're going to go to All Sports All Day. Get the stats.
All Sports All Day says, as someone who works with cars, you'd have to be locked for quite a damn while to have radiator trouble with that. But anyway, why doesn't Cup have it then?
And that is a question I always wondered why the Cup didn't. I guess they figure at the top level. But you got to remember, they tape and block these radiators up for aerodynamics. It's not like a regular car. You see them when they pull out a line just to get air on it for a little bit because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
I think about what they called the tandem racing. That was why they had to swap positions, was they could only run the car behind, had to have a brake and be the one out front to get the clean air.
Yeah. Jay, let's talk about the fuel saving versus the Wreckfest.
Yeah, this was another one. Everybody was, we don't want to see fuel saving. So they flipped the stages, whether or not that worked. But in my opinion, that's kind of what created this Wreckfest, and we haven't seen it like that in a long time. And I know, again, just the way it happened up front, bad bump, whatever, and it was at the front of the field. So I would rather see the fuel strategy, me personally, would rather see them running and saving fuel than wrecking and not racing.
Yeah. Hunter says maybe not so much when they're doing 8,000 RPM on a V8. That's insane. And All Sports All Day says, but then why doesn't it affect the Cup cars? I think it does affect the Cup cars. I think that's why they pull out every so often to give air to their radiator. Am I wrong about that?
No, I think it does. Now, why? Excuse me. I don't even know for sure if NASCAR or the Cup level has that of lock bumpers. I don't think they do. I think it was just the truck and O'Reilly. So why it's not in the Cup, I can't answer that, because I agree if it's going to be that way. But
it seems like the drivers do it organically. It's not a rule. They're doing it organically. They're still pulling out and giving their radiator that air. Just
I'm
saying.
looking. Yeah, I agree. I think it does affect the car. I don't know. I don't know why. I can't answer that. Sorry, guys.
Anytime you see litter on the track and a driver gets it caught up in the radiator, it's a huge problem. That is true. It causes them trouble, and they've got to come in. They've got to try to work with somebody to get that litter off of their front. But no one ever pulls out in Cup in this car. But they do pull out All Sports All Day. I see them pull out all the time to give their radiator that air. Am I the only one that sees that?
No. If you watch, they do offset by like half a car length. See that where we think maybe they're going for a pass and decide to pull back in line. That is the air they're pulling out to get that cool air.
Yeah, I see that all the time where they're pulling out to give air, or they're backing off a little bit. The other car gets ahead of them and they're backing off a little bit to get some air into that car. So I think it does happen. As far as the fuel strategy play versus the Wreckfest, making the shorter stages in the last two stages, I think that was a problem because they were racing a lot harder in those last two stages. And that's when we saw the wreck, the big one, happen because they're in more of a desperate mode. I hate to use the word desperate mode, but they know that they've got a limited amount of time to get up to the front. And so they're making their moves. And in the process of doing that, it caused a big one. But I can't say that we didn't see big ones with the reverse stage situation either. I think we saw a big one either way.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't know that it was a direct result, that the big one was a result of the flipping of the stages. I didn't feel like, and I said this prior to, these engineers and teams, they're going to figure it out and do what they got to do. We saw them strategizing for the fuel stage in stage one and how they flipped or pitted and whatnot. So the strategy didn't go away. That was my thing. It might have taken one or two races, but they were going to figure out how to do it, and they did.
Yeah, they did, for sure. And All Sports All Say says, genuinely one of the worst Cup races I've watched in the last year, at least. I think the first stage, people were just trying to take care of their equipment. I do think that happened, and that happened to be the longest stage of the race. So stage one was boring. Hold on, what happened here? Stage one was boring, Hunter says. All Sports All Day says Hosfar and Buscher led the lines from 40 to go to the finish. Yeah, it was a long green at the end, and there was no overtime in this race, which is kind of, I don't know. I can't remember from our notes, Jay. Do you remember if there were overtimes in this race? I come and thinking there were.
They were on a streak, though, because I remember thinking it was kind of unbelievable of how many, I don't remember the exact number, but they had been on a streak of not having an overtime finish.
All Sports All Day says, because no one can pull out to create a new line unless you have 10 plus cars, he said. So, but I guess we're identifying pulling out as a little bit different. I'm not talking about pulling out to change a lane. I'm talking about pulling out or backing off.
That half car length to the side.
Half car length in order to still give air to your radiator.
Which is sometimes what causes the bad bump, because they're offset half a lane for the air purpose, and then when they catch the car in front of them, they're not centered up.
Yeah. It says, true, wish they went through wide more often, or even 4. Yeah. I think they're a little bit more hesitant, and I think it goes back to they're trying to avoid that big one, number one, because they don't want to have a bad point stay. But you know, when it's coming down to the end of the race, they're trying to get everything they possibly can get. But I do think they're racing differently this year because of the chase. I think that that's a lot of it. Like if that wreck coming to the line doesn't happen, the top 15 would have been the same from the start of stage 3. That's why he feels this race was a 4 out of 10.
Yeah, that's one of those that's a possibility, but I think at some point somebody was going to make a move, and whether it shuffles them backwards or forwards is what you don't know. It's whether they get somebody to go with them or not.
And he says that's not an exaggeration either. I can tell All Sports All Day did not like this race.
So, but my question is then what on a Talladega or Daytona super speedway race really does make it a good race? Because that's what this has created, and that's where I fall.
I'm trying to see what the difference is, because to me, it seems like we've had the big one in the past anyway, either way. So he said the O'Reilly race was different. So I don't know. I do think that the drivers are trying to take care of their cars. And so they're in that first stage, with it being a longer stage the way it was, they're not going to take any chances that early in the race if they can help it. I think later on, there's more of I've got to get track position, and they're making their moves. And that's why what happened at the front of the pack and that half of the field or over half of the field, that's why that happened, is because it was a shorter stage and they had to make their move.
Yeah, and you're going to see that at any race when you have that opportunity, and it's just is not as big an impact at other than a super speedway because of the tight quarters.
Okay, he says O'Reilly were people moving, creating new lanes, blocking runs, and taking pushes, comers and goers, and not crappy too wide racing. Not because the drivers are timid, but because they can't do anything. And I did hear some conversation going into the race that we might even see long one-line runs with this race, again, because everybody's trying to take care of their car. Then why is O'Reilly racing so hard throughout the whole race? Well, it's a different car, for one thing.
You're also running fewer laps.
And they run fewer laps. They don't run as many laps as the Cup Series does. That's a good point, Jay.
That goes back to just in general of moving to the Cup. It's in just as much of endurance. Dave Moody likes to talk about you're running a marathon now, not a half marathon or 3/4.
Exactly. That's what designates the Cup Series and kind of differentiate from the O'Reilly Series is the endurance that those drivers go through with the longer racing. It's a shorter race. You're talking about a 300 versus the Ag Pro, or that was the Ag Pro 300. I forget the name of
the Cup is a 500, the Jack Links 500.
The Jack Links 500, yeah. So that's a lot of it. So I know some people think that they should shorten the Cup Series races. I'm not really for that, because to me, it would just be having two O'Reilly type series if we have shorter races in the Cup Series. I think that we need to have the endurance part of the Cup Series and part of the progression of becoming a premier race car driver.
There's another point to that, Sharon, though, and this goes back to the next gen car being less indestructible, more indestructible from the body standpoint, as well as the engines, because again, it used to be whether or not an engine could make it 500 miles, and what you got out of it in horsepower versus the durability of it. So I think over the years, that is what fans have called the lackluster in NASCAR, because everybody is running at the end and you don't see the dropouts like we used to with engine problems.
Yes. But there's a cost associated with engine problems too.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
these teams were begging for NASCAR to do something to make it less costly for them. And this was the solution. Okay. I just thought of another additional topic that I didn't put on the list, Jay, but I'll get to that when.
All right. Well, okay.
As we go through here. Moving along here, the survival versus speed. We've been talking about this. It's always positioning and survival mattered more than raw speed pace. Many front runners were wiped out in the crash. Drivers who stayed patient and avoided trouble surged to the front late in the race. Alex Bowman has his first top 5 finish. Only a handful of cars escaped damage, turning the final laps into a strategy scramble. The key takeaway, Talladega once again proved it's as much about luck and timing as talent. I think Talladega has a lot to do with luck.
It does. I know they say you make your own luck. There is some skill to driving it. But as we saw, 28 cars, 26 cars in this one, yeah, that had nothing to do with 23 of them. It started with those front 3, whoever you want to blame. But the other 23, yeah, they were like, we had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. So, and through no fault of their own, so many of them were out. They had nothing to do with what happened. So it's one of those situations. Also, contenders taken out early. Several big names had their day ruined. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Joe Logano among those caught up in the big one. Defending Superspeedway aces couldn't avoid the carnage. And that's true. Again, sometimes there's nothing you can do. A reminder that at Talladega, even the best are just one push away from disaster. The momentum shifts into heading into Texas. With the series heading to the next race, Hocevar carries massive confidence. Teams like RFK Racing with Busch's runner-up show Speedway strength translating into momentum. Meanwhile, struggling teams like Kyle Busch's group face pressure to rebound after ongoing issues. They have a shakeup over at RCR. Andy Street is the new crew chief for Kyle Busch. Jim Pullman is going to transition to a leadership role in the competition department. Talladega didn't just end a race, it reset narratives across the garage. So your thoughts about these topics, Jay?
Real quick, I missed my opportunity. I apologize. I'll give a big shout out to Alex Bowman.
Yes.
Coming back, got a top 5. When he was interviewed, before he talked about himself and where he was, he gave a shout out to the race winner of Carson Hocevar getting his first win. Because again, he was like, hey, I only got 5th. Yeah, it's a good day for me, but congrats to that first time winner. I thought that was true class. I don't understand why there's a lot of people down on Alex Bowman. He is just an absolute class act guy. But as far as this, yes, Hocevar, I think this does add to what he was building. I hopefully Spire Motorsports as a whole does. We see RFK really building some momentum for several years. Kyle Busch, RCR. I hope it works. I don't know enough about either one. I kind of feel like 8 races is kind of a not quite knee jerk, but a little early. I said this when what's his name left Spire Motorsports, and I'm drawing a blank now.
Chris Gabehart?
No, went to Junior Motorsports.
Oh, Pullman.
No, that's who came up.
Overstreet.
It'll come to me in a minute. No, okay. Not Paul Wolf.
No.
All Sports All Day, help me out. It's the crew chief for the number
left.
one. Oh, in the O'Reilly. Doggone it.
I'm lost.
Kevin Harvick's crew chief. Rodney, not Paul. Rodney Childers.
Rodney Childers. Okay.
Yeah.
I was doing several things, so I guess I lost where you were coming from.
No, of 8 races, of Rodney Childers left Spire Motorsports after 8 races. I understand things aren't working. You want to try and change something. So this one I don't think is as big of, because again, nothing's working for them right now, even though they got a top 10. 8 races is, and maybe they know something they don't. I mean, if him and Kyle really aren't clicking or whatever, I know they said there's some history between Overstreet and Kyle, try and reconnect. I agree, you got to do something. But again, you brought Pullman in as the change. You're not going to, as they say, turn an aircraft carrier on a dime. So is 8 races really enough to know whether or not that was?
Yeah.
That's their call. I do agree they need to start doing some things differently. I'm not going to dispute that at all.
Yeah.
And I hope it does better for Kyle Busch.
Well, it's worth a try, and I hope it does help him have some better results. Let's see here. All Sports All Day says, I got to head out tonight. Texas is so underrated. I can't wait. Have a great night, and thank you guys. So our thanks go out to
Absolutely. Thank you.
all of our participants tonight as well. Okay. RFK had a good run with Buescher's runner-up finish. I hope they continue their momentum. And as far as the key takeaway, it did change the narrative across the garage. Kosovar is so excited, so happy that he got that win. And I think he could be an example of somebody who gets their first win and just kind of takes off from there. We'll have to wait and see if that does play out. But he could be on his way.
Yeah, both of those of RFK has shown of a steady climb. I still see it as flashes or not quite the consistency needed to challenge for a championship contention. He obviously is in chase contention, will not take that away. It's a matter whether or not, like Gibbs put it together of 10 weeks in a row. Can we see that from Spire Motorsports and Hocevar?
Consistency. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Bottom line, Talladega delivered everything you would expect. A first-time winner, a massive crash, and a completely shuffled field. The biggest takeaway, a new name, Carson Hocevar, has officially arrived in the NASCAR Cup Series, and his picture was quite popular in Talladega.
And I don't know if that was Talladega because we've seen it in the past. He is one of those in one stretch, it's, he's the Chastain, he's too aggressive. Okay, gets the win. Obviously, the celebration he did got the standing ovation and whatnot. I'm not sure where the fans as a group. Talladega, we know Talladega is Talladega. They kind of love everything. And I know this too, during his interview, he mentioned it. Would have loved to have seen him do the Stone Cold thing. Somebody threw a beer and he had his hand out. I don't know how close he was to catching it, but I thought that would have been really awesome. He said that's the only thing about that could have been better.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to move on to additional topics here, Jay, and I'm going to start with the one that I forgot to put on the list. And that is, John Probst made some comments last week about they're looking at the future of NASCAR. And he talked about EV cars, but he was not talking about racing EV cars tomorrow or the next day or even next year. He's talking about decades into the future. And number 2, he also talked about having 3 different types of series. And again, they're just looking at it. They haven't made a decision on it. They talked about having the Truck Series be a standalone with trucks. The Cup Series has the next gen car. The O'Reilly Series, they were talking about using a crossover utility vehicle, not an EV, a crossover utility vehicle to give it its own identity. So that all three series would have their own identity and there would be no crossover. Possibly drivers wouldn't be crossing over so much to race across the series. I don't know, but it's something that they're just looking at. It's not something that's going to happen anytime soon and may not happen at all. And they're not talking about the same thing with EV.
Right.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, you're right. This was last week, and I hadn't even heard the comments. I think it was Monday when I went to the prison, the blow up on it. I hadn't heard what the comment was, but I knew it was fans and social media blowing something way out of proportion.
Context.
Yes. You're always looking to the future and the possibilities. And they compared it to thinking back when the truck series started. That was bold and out of line. Is that a possibility? I think I know there's a lot of things, and they were discussing the electric cars. When you talk about the crossover, the hybrids, again, a lot goes into that. I don't even know if 5 years would be a good plan.
We're not ready to do that.
Right, getting that up. And again, it doesn't seem like what they originally thought was, everything's going electric. Yeah, that hasn't even happened on the street, let alone in racing. So, yeah, don't get your panties in a bunch. Like I said,
people did.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I hadn't even heard the comment or whatever was going on, and that was the whole discussion that day. And I was like, "This is ridiculous."
The comments were taken totally out of context.
Yeah,
and there were assumptions made, and it was a little frustrating looking at it from the outside and watching it happen, and people trying to curtail it because it was so out of context.
With the crossover, am I against it? No. Do I think it's a good idea? I'm not so sure. Again, kind of like the trucks. If anything, and I'm not saying I want to see it. If anything, I think you would see maybe the crossovers replace the trucks if you were to go that route. But again, I don't want to see it, and I don't think we're talking, I say 10 years, because like I said, even 5 years to make all that come about, I think that would be a very optimistic plan of that. I mean, think about how long the next gen car, Gen 6, every step of that was 3 to 5 years, and that was a direct evolution and progression. You're talking about something out of the blue, out of new, fully developing. Yeah. You ain't got to worry about it yet.
Exactly right. And I will say this. I have learned from my experience, anytime that NASCAR comes up with something like this and I think, that's not a good idea. And then they do it somewhere
right?
down the road. It turns out to be a great idea after all. So I have kind of taken the stance of, I'll wait and see what happens before I make any judgments about it. And I think that's what I would advise all fans to do. Let's wait and see what happens before we start crying and screaming and jumping up and down about something that isn't even on their, not even a consideration for at least 10 years down the road.
Right.
At least, possibly even more. So let's wait and see what happens and then decide.
So you're saying you might have judged the Roval and the street races and the chase or playoffs and wait, that was me. I was guilty. Well, I was guilty of it.
Yeah, I was guilty of it too. So I've kind of learned, let's wait and see what happens before you make a judgment on it. And we had a lot of people jump on that one. And
yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad, is right. Okay, next up, Jim France takes a step back while Steve O'Donnell takes over the chief executive officer role and Ben Kennedy moves into the chief operating officer's role.
Well, and to add additional one and help me out, is her name Julie Geese? Is that her
Julie
first
Geist,
name?
yeah.
Geis, okay. Also is in a role of scheduling, I think is
Yes.
with Ben Kennedy. But apparently pretty much kind of being put in her hands as far as a heavy consultant. I don't remember if it had a job title with it, but again, we thought this maybe after the lawsuit. I know we had one step away. If that's what is necessary, or I think Steve O'Donnell would be great in the CEO. Moves up to president, actually. I know it says CEO.
No, he's CEO. He's currently president. He moved
Oh,
up
okay,
to
you're
the
right.
chief executive officer position.
There we go. And then Kennedy is the COO. I really think Ben Kennedy taking a role is huge. Just the evolution we've seen, the out of the box thinking, but also not wild, snap decisions either. Like you said, there's going to be some thought and process to everything they do. And I think Kennedy has shown that he is capable of that. And it goes back to he was a driver. I think that's a big thing. You have somebody that's now seeing both sides in the sport as a whole. And I'm guilty of that. A lot of times I'm talking as a fan, what I want, not as an executive. So there's things I don't know and see. And I think Ben brings all of that to it.
Yes, he does. And the thing about Steve O'Donnell is the first time in NASCAR's history that they've had someone who isn't part of the France family in that CEO position. So this is a milestone for the sport, but I think it's still in good hands. I think Steve O'Donnell will do a good job. I think Ben Kennedy will do a good job. I don't think that Jim France did a horrible job, but I do think that because of the lawsuit and everything, he's going to be one of the people, along with Steve Phelps, that kind of takes the hit for all of that and is going to take a step aside. So I think it's all good. We'll see what happens. And Julie Geist, that's a good choice also to put her on scheduling. She's an out of the box thinker, and I think that's all good. An update on the JGR and Chris Gabehart lawsuit. The latest, let me see if I can pull it up here on that, is that they did support the injunction against Gabehart, but they did not go as far as JGR. Let me see if I can find the details on it here.
I don't remember how far they extended. He is still under the, I can't think of the word, restriction from working in the same role at Spire as he did.
Yes.
I can't think of the legal term there, but he can't be the competition director. Yeah. Can't be the competition director at Spire Motorsports or perform anything in that. I know you're still pulling it up. So again, this is one, same as with the previous lawsuit. I really just, I know it affects certain teams and all. I think it's ridiculous. I'll use that word, ridiculous.
It is. It is. I'm trying to see if I can find something that I saw this, and now I can't find the article on it.
Yeah, and I don't remember where that was, because Joe Gibbs Racing wanted 18 months, and they haven't fully approved that. The other thing was the dates of the trial. JGR apparently wants it end of this year, and Spire is trying to push it to May of 2027. And that one I didn't understand why Spire was wanting to extend it, but
yeah, I wouldn't think Spire would want to extend it because they would want to get what's his name, Chris Gabehart into his position right away. I'm sorry, I cannot find. Here it is, antitrust latest news. More filings. Friday was the deadline for teams. This
With
is, nope, that's the wrong
That's
lawsuit.
the antitrust was the 2311 one though.
Yeah.
The other big thing was they did find Chris Gabehart guilty of taking some stuff he shouldn't. They haven't
Yes,
proven that
that's
he
what I was
sent it.
trying to find. They found him guilty of that. Yes.
Right, of having it. They hadn't proved yet he had shared it. So there will, and that's why they did extend the injunction of him working with Spire under that role, was because they were aware that he had taken it.
18 months.
Yeah, that's what JGR is asking for. I don't remember how far they extended it, at least temporarily, though.
So, but there is another court date coming up, and so there'll be more news on that. So I'm disappointed that Chris Gabehart did that, because that's obviously not something that somebody should be doing.
Well, and I'm not trying, because again, I really have no interest whatsoever in it, but if he intended to take it to Spire, yes, he's in the wrong. I get it. If he was taking it home and trying to help his own team, then is it really wrong? It violated a rule, not disputing that if he shouldn't have done it. But there again, it goes into what you buy into, whose side you're on, because he was saying he wasn't even allowed to do anything with the 54 team of Ty Gibbs. He wasn't being allowed to do his job, and then they pulled him out of his job, and he didn't want to do the other job they gave him. I want to watch racing.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Okay, let's move on to better news. Jamie McMurray and Clint Boyer are going to be driving the number 25 Ram truck for Colleague Racing. Clint Boyer is going to race at Dover on May 19th. Jamie McMurray is going to be in that truck at San Diego on June 19th.
This is one of, I didn't fully buy into this all-star truck, announce it, however long ahead. I think they've done a great job with it. I was wrong. And these two, I think, are great. And I don't know if this lines up, because they're both after May and June. I thought maybe it was after their current TV deal. Yeah, when they were joking about it on the pre-race, and I was like, wait, did I just catch that they're both going to be in the trucks? So I'm excited for it. I think they both have a lot of talent. They've been out of the seat for a little while. We'll see how that plays out, but we've seen some others. Tony Stewart, I thought, did a decent job. Unfortunately, didn't get a good finish, but I think Jamie McMurray on the road course and the tracks, Clint Boyer at Dover, I think that pairs up very well. So I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for it too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And Jamie's asking, did Denny Hamlin take my analytics setups to 2311 and it's not being made public perhaps? Ooh.
That. Okay. So, and also
bringing a wooden spoon.
Yeah. Somebody bringing a big spoon. Yeah.
Jamie.
All sports all day left. Here's the thing. And this is why they were asking for the $8 million. All Sports All Day pointed this out when we first talked about this, how they came with that amount. JGR and 2311 have that technical alliance. So Denny Hamlin would be allowed to, but they pay that fee of $8 million for certain information. And that's where they're saying they're asking for $8 million from Chris Gabehart, because if Spire gets it, they don't have the rights to it by paying the $8 million. So if Hamlin does, his might fall within an approved, paid for information. But that was a good point. That was good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
Not that you were trying to stir anything up, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, because he paid to share that information, apparently, as an alliance team. Okay. I think that might bring us to the end, Jay.
Right. Barring Jamie's attempt to stir us up some more.
So did you have anything else?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, and I always fall on the side of not a big fan of the pack racing, Talladega, Daytona. Atlanta's a little bit different as that hybrid. I thought there was good racing. I liked the storylines that came out of all of it, with the exception of the big wreck. So I enjoyed the weekend. I really did.
Yeah, I enjoyed the weekend as well. Like I say, I did not see the ARCA race. I listened to that one on the radio. I did watch the Cup and the O'Reilly race. I thought they were good races. I kind of look at these races through a little bit different lens, I think, than some of the other fans. And they talked about this a little bit on the morning drive this morning as well. And Jamie says, "That's right. Thank you. Buyout for TV bid."
Fox TV. I will give a shout out here to Fox. I know everybody's kind of hard on them too. The breakdown they did during the race, Larry McReynolds, and explaining the air jacks that they have on the cars now. I thought they did a great job with that, of fully explaining that. So I got to give them a shout out there. I know they had some other graphic issues again this weekend.
Yes.
I can't. Again, do I let that bend me out of shape? No. Do I think they ought to, as a professional company, do a better job? Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I thought the racing was good, though. I enjoyed the racing. I'm not a big fan of the wrecks. I'm like you. First of all, I should say, I'm not a big fan of super speedway racing. I'm just not. Because I just think these guys are driving on the edge of their seats. I know a lot of drivers are not big fans of super speedway racing either. So it just makes it a little tense at times when you're watching these races and you see that big wreck happen. It's just something that I don't find pleasure in. I would rather see them racing on the track and continuing to race without the big wrecks. But it's that type of a track that's going to happen. And so I've come to accept it, that that's the way it's going to be. But anyway.
It'll be interesting to see of what kind of campaign Joey Logano gets going. Because again, he was clearly holding his tongue. He did express his displeasure, but also said, yeah, I got more to say, but I'm not going to see how that comes about. Now, with that, bring a solution. And the solution isn't skip Talladega or Daytona. That's not going to happen. I get that. Everybody gets that. Yeah. I'm okay with the 4 we have a year. Some good, some bad. Again, this weekend, we got some of the bad. But we got good out of it. Because, again, Carson Hocevar.
Three new first-time winners.
Yeah. Something within the car. Jamie jumped in there with new car. Again, is it going to be a completely new car? Probably not. Are there still some modifications that can be done to it aerodynamically to kind of separate them? I know most fans weren't a big fan of the tandem drafting, so we're not going to go back to that. But I do think they need to find a way to separate them where a driver or two can get away from everybody else.
And I'm sorry, but I just don't think that's going to happen on a super speedway. The banking is too high. The speeds are too high for them to really find that solution.
Unless you go to the tandem where that 2 cars work best.
Yeah, and they're not going to do that. So I think this is what we've got.
Well, but I think what Joey was saying was finding a way to get them more stable. That something.
They definitely need to do that.
Well, and Jamie's got another good boy. You are just really trying to stir us up here to wrap up the show. You know, I've heard some rumors of that's kind of where the EV and crossover conversation paired was with the new OEM. So that kind of is what plays into that conversation. It'll be interesting. We'll have to wait and see what more final comes out of that. We heard about a new one coming, Dodge forever and ever and ever. We'll see how long this one actually takes to develop.
Yep, and I know we've all heard the rumors of who the manufacturer might be. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. I still don't know if we're going to see that new OEM in 27 at this point. I think we might be talking 28.
Yeah, no, again, that's not, I mean, I know there's been talk of it, and we saw Dodge only be able to come as far as the trucks to start with. Much as I would love it, of, Cup in 27, I know they said it's still a possibility. I think that's a little early. I think you need one more good year. Get the trucks underway. If they do it, and I will get behind it, but I think it might be a little bit of a stretch for 2027. So yeah, in total new OEM, I would agree. I think we're looking at 28 or beyond.
So we got to buckle up and ride the wave for these next several super speedway races. Because Talladega, they're in the chase too, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, that's one I don't think has come out of the chase round.
Was Mama Bear here tonight?
If she was, she didn't comment.
Yeah, he says, have a great night, Mama Bear and you both. Yeah, I don't remember seeing Mama Bear. If I missed her, I feel really
No,
bad.
because she has the number 3 on, so that means all sports. Hunter and Jamie were the 3. We thank you for being here. We enjoy it. If Mama Bear was listening, I know we have 124 subscribers now, so we do appreciate y'all interacting. It was a good night. Had a lot of fun.
Thank you, Jamie. We do appreciate you being here, and we enjoy the comments that you make. So thank you so much.
Maybe okay. Mama Bear is also known as Hunter. If that's maybe how, I don't know.
No,
because you said Mama Bear was on
from Race Chat Live.
Yeah. I thought you had said that was a separate one, man. We appreciate it. It's been great.
Yes, indeed. Okay, and with that, I think we might be ready to call it a night here, Jay. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. I really appreciate the people who are participating in the live chat and chatting with us, and we really enjoy the interaction. That's what we intended for this show, and it's so good, Jay, to see it finally happening. That we're getting that kind of interaction from the chat room. And,
absolutely.
So we really, really appreciate that. We'll be back next Monday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Central Time here on Bamper Racing Radio. And then tomorrow is interview day. I was going to try to get Mason Massey. I don't know if that has come about yet or not. And then Wednesday is Race Chat Live, 6 p.m. Central Time with Chris Crichton, Taz Taylor, and CJ Sports. Thursday and Friday are previews for the upcoming weekend of racing. And I believe we have 4 races this coming weekend, Jay. Let me look
from Texas, and then I don't know where the ARCA is.
Yeah, we've got the ARCA East and the ARCA West. ARCA East at Nashville, ARCA West at Shasta, and then all 3 of NASCAR's series at Texas Motor Speedway this weekend.
Oh, that'd be 5. Oof.
Ooh, so that is 5, yes. 5 races this weekend, so you and I have to talk about that. And then Friday is, I don't think Taz is available. No, he is available this Friday, but the following Friday, we'll probably have to do another posting up on fanforracing.com for the fantasy report. But we'll be back this Friday morning to do our fantasy report, so watch for that out on Friday afternoon.
Good deal. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we do. I know I have a good time.
Okay, now before I go, just real quick, my final comments. 3 races at Talladega and 3 first-time winners, proving that on any given day, everything can change. It's the beauty and the brutality of super speedway racing. No guarantees, no safe bets, just one shot to make a move that can define your career. And this weekend, 3 drivers did exactly that. Now we turn it over to you. Which first-time win meant the most? Which race delivered the biggest moment? And who do you think is here to stay after Talladega? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode of Hot Topic Sound Off on Fan for Racing Radio. Because after a weekend like this, the conversation is just getting started.
That's right. We saw it tonight with the 3 regulars, so a good time.
Okay, we'll see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.
Good night.